You see, when we start getting to know one another, we don't want to stop. And may it really be something of our culture that we will make sure that we walk between the floors and just meet the people that we actually work with. I always get a big laugh if my family say, "Oh, you work at AFGRI, do you know that person?" And I would, which one of the 6,000 is it? But it's really wonderful to have you here at our first leadership session of this year. And I'm personally blessed in my heart on how this just became something, it got something of a momentum. We started off last year in January, we had 12 sessions. And who of you have been here for all of the sessions last year? 11 of the 12? Cornay, why did you leave us? Was it the sessions that... you were also here for about 11 of the sessions. Johan, you've watched all of them on YouTube. Johan gave me some wonderful feedback in December when I had a chat with him. And Johan said to me, "Christa, there's something different of being here and watching it on YouTube. Because if you are here, you are part of the group, you are participating in this discussion, and we can never reproduce this." So I really want to encourage you to prioritize this in your own diary and make sure that it's 2 hours a month where you can just come and sit and get some investment that you can really take as a leader to go and apply in all areas of your life. And what we've also intentionally done is to link this not to a title or invite specific people, but we made it open and say, in our company, we acknowledge that there's a lot of leaders without a title. And we open it up to anybody that sees himself as a leader and says, "Please come and invest in my life. I want to be here to accept these things and see how I can take it into my own life and in my working spaces." So leading without a title is such an important value for us as well. So what I want us to do is to just for a moment reflect back on the year. I've said it in the email that Marisa sent out last week. In a lot of instances, we run into a new year without just for a moment pause and reflect back and say, what have we learned? What have we been exposed to in these sessions in 2018? And I want to take you through a short video clip that we've also sent on email last week. Let's have a look at this. So please remember, all these sessions are available on YouTube and on the AFGRI intranet. We are still looking to put it on the new intranet that we have that they are busy launching for us. But please log into this, subscribe to the YouTube, and the moment we upload videos on there, you will immediately receive a notification of that. And there's some amazing leadership material and content that is coming out of these sessions. Just imagine what will happen if all of us come to work every day, bringing the fullness of our capacity into this working spaces, and we are fully present. We are here. It's like my husband normally says to me at night, "I know you're here, but you're not here." And a lot of us get to work and we're here, but we're not here. But imagine what can happen if we are all focused and we are fully present in our working spaces. To really listen with the view to understand and to get connected. I'm listening to you because I want to understand. And when another human being experience, you understand. There's connection, there's empathy, and we feel somebody has heard what I've just said. It is the most important skill that any leader can have. So important. And we don't listen with the view to respond. We listen with the view to listen. So I'm really encouraged with all of these sessions, and I trusted you as well. Just one thing that I want to elaborate as well is what Lerato said to us, is remember, values will cost you something. To stand up for what is true, to stand up and be a person of integrity is going to cost you something, and we need real leaders that are brave to go and do that. So today we've got the honor, and Nthabiseng, will you please join me? I met Nthabiseng for the first time, and before I introduce her to you, I was in my study last year preparing for one of these leadership sessions, and I was like, what should be the topic for the next, and who should be our speaker? And I just got these words, mind, set, go. And I immediately thought, let me and Nthabiseng be brave and talk about mind, set, go. But I want to tell you who I am, and I'm going to tell you who Nthabiseng is. Now, the first time that I met her, and it's really like that first impressions count. So I met Nthabiseng in one of these sessions where she actually started asking questions, and it's amazing for me to see if people start asking questions here, what potential do we have in our organization? And after that session, I said, we must have a coffee. And we had coffee, and we just started sharing. Tell me your story. That's what we did. Please tell me something of your story. And she told me a story. And immediately I knew there's something of an alignment in terms of our hearts and our minds, the way we think, the passion, and what we really want to make a difference in this world on. And that's how I met Nthabiseng. It was a friendship that started out of one of these sessions. She then attended the 2-day PDP, the People Development Process, and it was so encouraging to let her sit there and to see this woman is getting it. It's like she sat there and she said, Christa, this is amazing. And she started making the links and connected the dots and saw potential. And again, I just saw potential in an individual. So for me today to invite Nthabiseng to talk with me about this subject is one thing that I do know is there's absolutely no competition between the two of us. Because if we speak to you today, we speak to you as human beings. We speak to you as people who are passionate about a topic. And that's what I know of Nthabiseng. So you can introduce yourself to the group.
Thank you very much. What do I say after such a warm introduction? So for me, it was exactly 9 months ago when I was sitting at the back of the leadership investment session. It was my first month at Phil Africa Foods, and I wanted to understand what this leadership investment session is about. And I remember what stood out for me was just the calm, humble, and authentic way in which Christa handled a potentially volatile discussion that was highly, highly sensitive. And I remember sitting there, almost saying a silent prayer for her and looking at how she was able to converge all of those divergent views, converge them to a nice, decent close. I didn't know who she was, but when I went to my desk, I thought I need to encourage that woman and just thank her for doing what she did so well. So I sent her an email introducing myself. I'm new in the organization, and I really like how you handle that session. And that really began the friendship that we have. She's my bumper buddy at work, and someone that I can really call a dear friend. And I want you to sort of see something with the story that I'm telling you. I didn't connect with her based on any external factors, be it race, gender, or anything. There was a heart-to-heart connection based on the value systems that we share. I loved her authenticity. I loved her humility. And those things attracted me to her. And I believe at the foundation of, our relationship. And so really, in a nutshell, if I were to describe to you who I am a student of life. I am curious about life. I learn about life from everything and everybody. That's why I believe it's actually, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. It's like I'm robbing myself if I don't interact with someone based either on their agenda or anything. Because I know God has deposited something or a key that I'm looking for in that person. So it's for me to open my heart out to anyone that Lord leads in my path so I can be able to learn and gain more wisdom. So I'm a student of life. I'm a seeker of truth. I'm a seeker of of light. I'll tell you more about myself later on in the session, but that's all I wanted to say at this point of introduction. But before I hand over to you, Christa, I wouldn't be standing in front of you if a certain lady didn't open the door of AFGRI for me. And for that, I would like to honor and appreciate Mpume, my boss, who saw potential in me when I was knocking and looking for a job and said, all right, let me give this person a chance. I wouldn't be standing in front of you if she was a rigid manager who said, no, you are in HR and in South Africa Food, therefore what are you doing in that space? She's very progressive, she's very empowering, and she's given me the space to actually be sharing with you. So I truly honor and appreciate her for that. Thank you, Mpumi.
Thank you, Mpumi. Wow. So when we talk about mind, set, go, the mindset of a person is so important, because there's a saying that says, where the mind goes, the man follows. And we choose our mindsets every day. The reality is also that our minds are formed through certain patterns. The more that you are exposed to a specific pattern of thinking, the more you will start thinking like that. That's why we call it, we've got mind-like people. Because we form our mindsets based on you think the way I think. For me personally, one of the biggest challenges in my life, and not being an extrovert, is to go and meet people that are differently than what I am, that believe differently, that has got a different religion than what I have, and to sit with that person and say, tell me, what do you think? Tell me, what do you believe? Tell me more about you, because if we allow people that are different than us to speak into our lives, our mindsets gets formed by those people. So what are your minds set on for 2019? And it's not New Year resolutions, it's just saying, if I set my mind on this, I know at the end of this year, I will definitely reach the point where I want to be. And it's so easy to just get a little bit off track with where you want to go to. So mindset is so important. In terms of the reality of mindsets, is we can either have a transformed mindset, or we can conform to the environment around us. And myself and Nthabiseng are going to show you today how easy it is to conform to the environments around us. I was always thinking is, how can people come into a session and they hear truth, they hear things, and this is what we want. We really want to see a workplace where these things are playing out. And then we get back into our working spaces, but I don't necessarily see the changes. Who of you have experienced that before? So I can just acknowledge here that in the 3 years that I'm part of AFGRI, I got discouraged a lot, because it's like, my friend Wayne there, I will say, Wayne, you are totally a different person in our sessions than what you are in your workplace. Why is this? And we had a lot of discussions regarding that. And I remember when I joined grain management, I was like, I didn't know who's in what position. So I went and I greeted everybody and, hi, how are you? Who are you? Tell me what you do. And tell me the story of how long you've been in the business. And then I came out of the office and people will say, did you really speak to him? Did it take an hour to speak to him? And I'm like, what? And if you start listening to things that is happening and what people are saying around you, you start getting scared about a person that I was not scared in speaking with this person. But all of a sudden there's something of a mindset that gets ingrained. And I was watching myself in 3 years, how I started drawing back. I came in every morning and greeted everybody. While they were so busy looking at their screens the whole morning, I was like, hi, how are you? And there were people that greeted me, and those who didn't greet me, I felt so intimidated that I started drawing back. And tomorrow I didn't greet that person. And the third day, I even didn't pass in that passage. And then one day I stopped and I realized, whoa, you are getting into certain patterns of thinking that you need to make a decision for yourself. Is it your value to engage with people? Is it your value to greet people? And based on my value, I need to make sure that I do not fit into the environment around me. To me, a beautiful saying is, don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. And I want to show you how easy it is to really fit into something. And I don't know if you can see this little picture. But this is a picture of the It's Time event that took place last year in October, I think it was the event. But when we got there, the grass were just planted. It was green grass everywhere. And then people arrived and people started walking on this grass. And as they were walking, you could see that there are certain paths that were busy forming. And then it was interesting to see that every person will walk on that path that were formed. And that is exactly what happens to us if we conform to the patterns around us. And it's the saying that says, when you're in Rome, you do as the Romans do. And who do you want to do? According to whom do you want to do certain things in your life? What are the behavioral patterns that we got used to? What are the customs around us that we are fitting into? Certain people that we are following, and there's a path in our brain that are busy created that might lead you to missing the potential that is inside of you. So in any environment that we go into, whether it's family, wherever the environment is, there are certain patterns that you need to look at. And if you continually following that patterns, that will be the outcome of your life that you will see. But what if, and I believe that is what Chris said to us last year when he spoke about how do we understand the present to lead the future. It is going into the unknown. It is literally walking onto a path that nobody has ever walked before. It's like, okay, I can see everybody walked this path, but I'm going to take another route because there's a lot of green grass out there. And I want to show you a video clip on just how easy it is to conform to environments around us.
The gentleman in the elevator now is a candid star. These folks who are entering, the man with the white shirt, the lady with the trench coat, and subsequently one other member of our staff will face the rear. And you'll see how this man in the trench coat tries to maintain his individuality, but little by little, he looks at his watch, but he's really making an excuse for turning just a little bit more to the wall. Now we'll try it once again. Here's the candid subject. Here comes the candid camera staff, 3 of them at least. And this man has apparently been in groups before. Now, here's a fella with his hat on in the elevator. First he makes a full turn to the rear and Charlie closes the door. A moment later, we'll open the door, everybody's changed positions. Now we'll see if we can use group pressure for some good. Now, in a moment, on Charlie's signal, everybody turns forward. Notice they take off their hats. And now, do you think we could reverse the procedure? Watch.
Conventionally, with this, I want to challenge the thinking that culture is mirrored at the top. What if the person at the top is taking his hat off and we're all taking our hats off? But we don't agree with the way he's taking his hat off. But we all do it because he's at the top. But we are leaders, we are people with a purpose. We are here because we've got gifts and talents. But it's like, this is the way we do it. So if you get reluctant and you shut down and you become quiet, are you using your potential? No. Who are we going to blame for that? We do this, and then we leave this organization and we get to the next organization, and guess what? The same as there. Because when somebody challenged me, or when I challenge somebody and I withdraw, what are the chances that I need to be brave and in humility say, but I really want to discuss this point. And I know there's pushback that is happening, but those are the things that is causing us to conform to the patterns around us. And some of that patterns gets then created in our own minds. I remember it was last year when I got to Jacob in his office and I said, Jacob, I'm not good for the position that I'm in anymore. Because I started saying what I think you want to hear. And I'm wrong if I do that. Because if I cannot sit here and tell you the honest truth on just how I see things, but think I need to say things the way you want to hear it, then I'm not relevant for the role that I'm in anymore. And sometimes we have to put the mirror in front of ourselves and say, where have I become scared of? And it's in my mind that I maybe need to confront myself in that. So this is so valuable, and I want to ask you that whatever you wrote on that piece of paper, that you will please leave it on the chair for us. Because what we want to do is just to collect it. We won't know who said what, but we want to collect it and see what are the typical trends that we see in terms of mindset, and how can we be very intentional with the processes that we get into, that we make sure that we get into the mindsets that we really want to be in. The next point where we want to be is to have a transformed mindset. And Marion said these words, it so blessed me when I spoke to her. She said, we need leaders that sees the big picture. People with the right heart and mind that can take themselves out of the picture. And that means not having a selfish outlook. And pursue a transformative and progressive mindset and behavior. Now, for each one of us sitting here today, if you can say that, I want to make that my mindset for 2019, is to have a transformative and progressive mindset. I want to go forward. I think then you are in a very good space. So how does a transformed mind look like? It is somebody that really progressively change. Now, I just want to say there's not one incident in my life that I can say that totally changed me. It is the sum total of places where I said yes to, and I went through certain things. Coming out there, I can today say, that one changed this mindset. So it's progressively. I wish there was just a switch we can put up and say, zip, thou shalt be transformed in your mouth. But it's progressively that is taking place. New thoughts are unfolding in your mind. If we are visiting our friends and we are still talking about the good old days, do you remember when it happened in the 80s? I'm like, we are not there anymore. So it's like there's new thoughts unfolding in your mind. And that brings us to a transformed mindset is a matured mindset. An immature mindset will conform to the environment around us. A mature mindset is somebody that will stop, that will intentionally change the story so that I can get into a new way of thinking. And then there's a renewed mindset. And the only way that I can explain a renewed mindset is my Apple iPhone. There's not many mornings that I wake up where there's not a little red dot on the App Store saying, new software download required. And somebody is thinking the whole time about how can we better this app? How can we make this better? And then I download that app onto my cell phone, and in a lot of instances, I don't know what it did. But the person who wrote it knew this will make the cell phone and that specific app better. Reality is our minds needs that constant not cell phone, we've got enough of that. Our minds need that constant software download. And what is the software that you are downloading on your mind that keeps you to have a renewed mind, to constantly think new thoughts? And then I believe that a transformed mind is a total reformation on how you think. That is when I'm so focused on values, and my value drive me, not my comfort. I focus on values and ethical attitudes and behavior because it's my value to greet people. I will greet people. Whether others are doing it around me, that is what I will do. And you start functioning from who you are, from the inside out. And that is what it means to have a transformed mindset. So we've got the two. We can either conform or we can be transformed. And Nthabiseng is going to take us through this slide on how different layers are forming our mindsets in the environments we function in.
Thank you, Christa. Let me just check it all out. So mindsets are really complex little things, and these are the different layers in which they are formed, but these also are the same layers in which they can be unformed. So we can learn certain mindsets and we can actually unlearn them if they're not serving us anymore. So the premise of understanding this diagram is that transformation or mindset change happens from the inside out. All right. So we need to start having the change happen at the deeper recesses of our lives, at a spiritual level, identity, beliefs, and then it will show externally in our behavior. It will show in our environment, the clothes we wear, the friends we associate with, how we decorate our homes. All of that is external, but it actually stems from the inside out. So let's take each layer one by one and explain it. At the level of spirituality, what we mean by that is not really spirituality in the sense of religion, but spirituality in the sense of purpose. This is where you and I have to really understand what is the purpose of this system, this organization that we have chosen to be a part of, and then plug our own individual purpose into that. Once there's that link between the purpose of the organization and our individual purposes, then there's congruence, then we flow. Work doesn't become work and something to, really think hard about. It becomes like I'm in my element. I'm doing that which I need to be doing because I'm deeply plugged into the purpose of the organization. And if I can share, for example, for me, when I joined Phil Africa Foods, people will remember that the vision of Phil Africa was something that struck out for me. For me, I was like, wow, this is a big, hairy, audacious goal, and I want to be a part of it. We want to transform the lives of millions of Africans, economically, socially, and spiritually. I plugged in at that point. Before I could even understand what the job would entail, I was like, I'm plugged in. And everything else then flows out of that. If we can get people at recruitment stage that get to plug into our vision at that point, our retention level is going to drop. We're going to have people that are highly motivated. We're going to be able to create ambassadors out of people because they'll feel like, the organization or our group is their home because they see the synergy between the purpose of the organization as well as theirs. And then the second very critical level is the level of identity. This is so crucial. If at an identity level, all of us sitting here can decide that we are going to define ourselves primarily on the base of the fact that we are part of one race alone, and that is the human race. All of us are created by God. All of us sitting here have the DNA of God. And therefore, if you carry God and I carry God, why shouldn't we love each other? So I think a lot of the divisions and discrimination, prejudice, etc., happen because we choose to identify ourselves primarily on things that are fluctuating, that are changing. Things like she is wide, she's tall, she's short. I don't do tall, I don't do short. She's from that tribe, that ethnic group. Those things divide us. But if we can tune in and plug in at the level of the identity, that becomes a unifying factor for all of us. And I want to give you a personal example of myself. In life, as you journey, you get your aha moments, like your light bulb moments. I had my aha moments a couple of years ago on the area of identity. I used to be those people that, for who marital status was the thing. The ring that I used to have then was massive. It was an oval shaped big stone with pink sapphire. And when I'm talking to you in a meeting, you would just see that this ring, this person is a Mrs. Mathenjwa. It was my identity. And I loved it. I embraced it. But I had an encounter, very peculiar encounter with God, where he actually took me into himself and said, Nthabiseng, the MBA, the bling bling, that doesn't define you. And I said, Lord, who am I? He said, you are a triune being. You are first spirit. My spirit is in you. Therefore, you are spirit being. And then you happen to possess a soul, which is your mind, your emotions, and your will. You possess those things. They are at your disposal for you to do that which I want you to do. And then, by the way, for your season and assignment in this earth, I've decided you must somewhat have a black body that is short. It's just like someone saying, for you to do this, I'll give you a Ferrari. Does a Ferrari define me? If you ask me, who am I not going to say I'm a Ferrari. No, a Ferrari is simply a tool that I have been given and equipped with to fulfill a bigger purpose and a bigger mandate. So once I understood what my purpose is, that God says to me, you are an enterprise and people developer. And therefore everything that I've equipped you, whether it's how your mind works, your personality, your emotions, is to help you towards that. And you happen to drive a car called a black body. So please let this sink in and understand that the things that we make our identity are actually not our identity. They are things we simply possess to execute on a task that we are here to do. So I am spirit. As God is, so am I, because I have his DNA and I'm everything that he says I am. And then moving on to belief system, beliefs and values. This is also a very critical one, because if we have limiting beliefs, it doesn't matter what potential you're carrying. It doesn't matter what task or assignment and purpose God has given you at that level. If your beliefs are saying to you, I can't do this, I'm too shy to speak in front of people, I can't, I just can't, it's not for me, you are going to limit the potential. And the level in which you can manifest that which God has endowed in you. So you can have limiting beliefs and empowering beliefs. Empowering beliefs are obviously those that are lined up and are empowering us to be that which we have been designed to be. And here at home, we call ourselves people of excellence, isn't it? And in the next slide, Christa will take us through that and just bring it closer to home. I'm just giving a brief introduction from a generic point of view. And then the next layer is that of capacity. Knowing each other's in terms of gifts, in terms of talent, capabilities, and learning from each other. once again, it goes back to the issue of, if I believe that we're part of a human race and that God in his infinite wisdom has deposited aspects of himself in you, Corne, in you, Aisha, then we need each other. We will not complete this puzzle without the aspects of each other that residing in different people. We need each other, all right, for us to give God's solutions that will boggle the minds of people, all right? And so it means that we need to then, acknowledge each other's capacity, both innate as well as learned. The mistake we make sometimes is to say, I'm either born with this or I don't. That's a limiting belief once again. Oh yes, God in his wisdom will give certain people certain talents, and we can see this child is talented in that way. But that doesn't mean that's the only way to learn. There's learned behavior, learned skills that we can develop, irrespective of what we've been given and endowed with naturally. So later on, I'm going to talk about the growth mindset versus fixed mindset, particularly around the issue of capacity. We need to look at capacity as a growing thing. We need to understand that our brain is plastic. It can learn new things every day. There's a research I did the other day that says we literally, you and I sitting here, we have brand new neurons, thousands of them in our brain, just waiting for new information, just waiting for you and I to plug new information and new pathway, new ways of thinking into it. Let's move on to capacity, to behavior rather, yeah. So with behavior, it's really what people can see and do and see you do, right? It could be then your patterns of engagement, patterns of communication. We see that is visible, but all of it is influenced by your beliefs and the other deeper aspects. And then environment is there for everybody, and it's plain for everybody to see, right? We are part of a group of companies in age to age striving towards a common vision. It could be even the practical changes that we've seen around here. There's a renovation happening here at home. There's signage and new signage that is happening, branding taking place. Those are physical changes that we can see. But you know that if an organization can simply focus on external changes and it ignores all the other important elements or layers of change, that change will not be sustainable. So everything has to start from the inside out. And having said that, the key levers for changing our mindset is really, truly the three areas there: spirituality, identity, belief. The biggest change happens at the levels of spirituality, which is our purpose, identity, belief, and values. Once as people, we can decide to make change and shifts at that level, we will literally move mountains. We will make big shifts of change. And these all reside in the heart and in the mind. There's some notes that I got to share for me, but I'll talk them through. That's why then the next slide says the crux of the heart is the heart change. Maybe if I want to throw in some pun there, we could say the heart of change is what? Is a heart change. If we change at the level of the heart, that is when real change will happen. If we let our heart change the world and not let the world change our heart, that is when we will be doing change from the inside out. And from a belief perspective, there's a couple of things that we need to be believing in. One is, and I know it seems strange to be talking about love in a corporate environment, but love actually is the key value, the core value that combines all of us. So all of us need to believe that love is our core identity and choose to act in love towards ourselves and towards one another. Remember, we said we carry the DNA of God in all of us, and God actually is love. So we carry his love in all of us. We need to define ourselves primarily on the basis of our values and empowering beliefs, rather than on secondary external attributes such as gender, race, class, etc., which tend to divide us. Let love and values be the unifying factor. I want to pause here and give a very practical example of a discussion I had with a colleague of mine last week on the point of values. So she said to me, you know what, there is a particular person here who doesn't live the value of respect. And respect is a very important thing for me. And funny enough, I've observed that I'm actually, treating them in a very funny way. Every time they want to give me an advice or an input, and I know that they can give me good input, they're intelligent, but I shut down. My brain shuts. Because in my mind, this person is not embodying or living a value that I respect. And so I don't care how much they know. If they don't live the value of respect, I'm not going to hear them. And literally this person can't hear them. It doesn't mean that what that person is saying is stupid, but it means they're not receiving it. So because change happens at a relational level. Change happens when your heart connects with mine vibrationally and we connect. If the person shuts, it means now there's an opportunity lost for change, isn't it? So that just shows you the importance of really making sure that we converge at the level of values and we hear each other at that point. And when we do the above, we will be able to form heart-to-heart connections with others in our spaces, the spaces that we exist in, whether it's family, it's work, etc. And will positively, impact our spaces as we manifest the positive attributes that stem from love. I know there are Christians in this house, and I would like to put you in the spot. There is a scripture that talks about love. Love is what? Just those words. It's kind. It's what? It's patient. It's patient. It's considerate. Is it? Yeah.
Does not seek
long suffering, doesn't seek for itself. So it's selfless, isn't it? So once we unpack those, then we realize, whoa, love is a big value. And if we truly are to live that, then we won't be rude to each other. We will not be selfish. We will not be self-seeking. We will be thinking of the other. And that nature of love is a nature that resides in all of us as we sit here. We don't have to even go fast and pray to get it. It's there because God created us with that fingerprint and it is there in us. And as I close this session, I want to lead you into a movie of Moana. You can see I've got small kids, right? So Moana, we have watched it for like 12 times, etc. My little girl Zoe, she's 6, she loves Moana. But I've seen some important spiritual lessons from Moana, which I thought, I could share with you. So before I go into the 3-minute clip, let me give you just a quick synopsis on the movie, and then we'll be able to connect. But it all talks to the heart issue, where Moana restores the heart of Tafiti. So the story starts with Tafiti Island. And Tafiti is a person, and she actually has a really, really good heart. And from her heart, she's able to create islands that are green, etc. But she creates all of that from her heart. And now all the other demigods, surrounding are envious of that heart. They want to steal the heart of Tafiti. They try and fail, but one demigod finally succeeds, Maui, and he steals the heart of Moana. Guess what happens? All that luscious greenery that Moana's heart had put onto the environment, as soon as her heart is gone, it's gone. The world becomes total darkness and chaos because she doesn't have her heart. And what happens is she actually turns into a monster. She turns into a monster of lava and fire. She's spewing fire. She's spewing lava. She is no longer that nurturing Moana, Tafiti that we know. And now there's somebody who has to correct that situation and restore the heart of Moana. And the ocean chooses a little girl, Moana, to say, you are the one that's destined to restore the heart of Tafiti. Poor little girl doesn't know how, but with the guidance of her grandma, she eventually gets on board, and the ocean leads her to Maui. Because Maui is supposed that he must now go redo his wrong. Maui is the one, the demigod that took the heart. Maui now must take the heart back. But in the turn of events, it turns out that it's actually not Maui's destiny to go put the heart back. It's Moana, the little Moana, is the one that must go restore. And as she does that, and you need to see it, how just restoring their heart takes care of everything else. First, she restores her heart, then she restores her identity. She says, do you know who you are? Because she has stopped being Tafiti for so long. She has been this monster of lava. She's even forgotten who she is. So Moana confronts her like this and says, do you know who you are? Who you really are? And then she opens up. Then the heart is put, and then we see the change happen.
Let her come to me. I have crossed the horizon to find you. I know your name. They have stolen the heart from inside you. But this does not define you. This is not who you are. You know who you are. Who you truly are.
To me, this really spoke to my heart. Nthabiseng sent me all these clips, and it was really weird to me. And I said, I don't know where, but I became so aware now when she was speaking how important it is for us to bring our hearts into what we are doing. I remember one day I drove away here, and it was really a bad day. It was an encounter with somebody, and it really ouch, this was not a great day. And I remember driving away here and saying, I am taking my heart out of what I am doing now, because my heart are going to get hurt if I bring it into this. And I just got that sense that day God is saying to me, but then you can also leave. Because if we take our hearts out of what we are doing, then what are we doing? We are here, we are hands, but who we are not bringing that into the working environment. And 3 years ago, I specifically came into AFCRI just after reading the book, The Saint, the Surfer, and the CEO. And it's a book that Robin Sharma wrote. And specifically in that book, he's talking about love as a business language. And I remember I approached Jacob and I said, Jacob, I believe that what we need in our business is we need to start loving one another. And it's like, do you ever ask that once I know Mpumi, there's something of a natural, because I got to know Mpumi in her heart, there's a natural love for Mpumi. This doesn't mean it's all this mushy. She can still be very strict with me. She can say certain things. This needs to be done. But I know it's coming from a place of her heart that I've seen. And I just want you to pause this morning and I want to ask you, do you have your heart in what you are doing? And do you still love the people that you work with? So fast forward 3 years ago, I said that to Jacob and he said, Christa, it's not really a language we use, but I was convinced that that is what I need to come and do here, is show to people how much we can love. And the other day I was sitting with him and he said, Christa, something that you are doing are working. I just don't know what it is. I said, so Jacob, think about it. What is working? He says, I think it's that love thing. And I just want to ask you today, when last have you, and first of all, before we can love others, we need to be able to love ourselves. And sometimes you just have to look yourself in the mirror and really I really love this human being, like the Ferrari that I've been given to drive in. And then really all that we do in our PDP sessions is that we allow people to write their story down and then to share their stories. And I've seen so many hearts connected to one another as people start sharing something of their story. So in terms of a mindset for 2019, don't you want to restore your mindset from the place of your heart to bring your heart back to in what you are doing? I can honestly stand here today and say there are people in this company that I dearly love. Vivian is my son from Ogie Silo. Vivian is a person that I can honestly say I really love him. And when you're there, there's respect that flows from that, and we want to learn from one another, and that creates such an amazing mindset for all of us. So mindset starts from the inside out. It's really a matter of the heart. And what we want to do today is just not to leave you with a matter of the heart, but actually give you tools on when it's a matter of the heart. How do I actually take this? Give me something to hold on to that I can actually go and do, so that I can make sure that I live by this mindset. And Nthabiseng is going to take us through the different mindsets that we can have. And when you're having discussions with people, what mindset do you have? Do you have a fixed mindset or do you have a growth mindset? And please take us through that, Nthabiseng.
All right. So now more from a practical stance, we're going to just go through some key points to help you adopt a growth mindset. There's a book by Carol Dweck which talks about mindset, and this is where she juxtaposes the two. She says, if we have a fixed mindset, our relationship or our beliefs around skills is something like, well, this skill is innate. I know how to write, or I know how to do a particular thing. Or I don't know how to do it. And you don't want to do anything more or less. You just want to accept that this is it. I either have it or I don't, and it's unchanging. As you can understand, that's a very limiting mindset. And what she's encouraging us to adopt is a growth mindset, which says, yes, I may have been endowed with a few natural things that the Lord has given me or that the Creator has given me, but I still need to put in the hard work. I need to put in the hard work and I need to practice so I can prove on this skill, So you can see that there's a difference there. So, and really my challenge for us today is to say, if we were currently having a bit of a fixed mindset to say, I either know this or I don't, let's actually just get ourselves out there and say, Let me learn. What skills can I learn? Look at what your job requires you to do and see what is it that you probably have been depending on other people to do for you, which you can actually learn for yourself. I amazed myself this year. I do some deco for functions, and every time I would outsource the flower part to a florist. Last year I stretched myself. I said, you know what, I'm going to learn how to do these flowers. I went to YouTube, learned how to do flowers, and I now do my own flower arrangements. I'm saving money when I'm having to do a deco event. So we shouldn't box ourselves. I can't do flowers, I can't do this. We can learn anything that we put our hearts and our mind to. Regarding challenges, people with fixed mindset says challenges are something to avoid, right? That it will reveal that they are lacking in a particular area. And so the challenges overwhelm them. You see, there's almost like a persona and a facade that they want to protect, that I'm perfect, I know it all. And now this challenge is probably going to expose me that I don't know it all. Can you imagine how it must be to live in that mindset? Whereas a growth mindset is saying, actually, I don't know it all, but I want to embrace this opportunity to learn. I want to embrace this challenge, and I want to embrace the opportunity to change. And it calls for perseverance. So these people are very eager to tackle challenges instead of avoiding them because they think that they're going to reveal what they don't have, right? And from a relationship with effort, people with a fixed mindset are saying, effort is not necessary. I'm just a genius. Or I'm just a domkop. There's nothing I can do that can change this domkop, Whereas they don't know that with studying, with practicing, that domkop can change. You can actually get better results, etc. So they say, effort is not necessary. It's linked to not being good enough. So if they see you practice and work hard and prepare, they're like, if you have to put so much effort, it means you're not good at it. But that's actually the opposite. You want to put effort so that you can even get better at it. And people with a growth mindset, they see effort as essential. Must practice, must prepare, because it leads to mastery, right? And then in terms of feedback, people with a fixed mindset, they say that it produces defensiveness. And I think it goes without saying. If I give you feedback that is negative, or feedback that is trying to correct a particular area, people immediately clamp up and they get defense because you are defending a fixed identity that I have about myself. Whereas if you have a growth mindset, you actually welcome that feedback. You find it useful, you find it positive because you see it as an area to improve. You don't have an essence of yourself as I'm fixed and that's it, leave me alone. You're like, oh no, I'm growing, I'm evolving. So bring it on. I need the feedback to grow in other areas. And then lastly, with setbacks, people with a fixed mindset blame others. Blame. It's not my fault, it's his. It's not my fault, it's hers. Because if they don't blame and they accept blame, by doing that, they're accepting that there's something wrong inherently with them. See how it's such a mixed spiral. And they're easily discouraged. If they can't do something and quickly they get discouraged, they discouraged. Oh, I don't know, I can't do maths. Maths is not my thing. Oh, this is not my thing. But if we embrace a growth mindset, we see opportunities to learn. We see opportunities as, times for us to learn, and we focus on making changes, even during the setbacks. So these are just the practical things that I believe we can take away with. And if you're a manager and you've got people that you lead, you will be amazed at how adopting this mindset towards them will help them. From a skills perspective, you can see how you're going to take your people to training, even though in your heart you're thinking, I don't think Puleng is so good at this part. Let me give her a chance. Maybe with practice and effort, she will do it. Or maybe there's been some work that as a manager you've been not wanting to give to your staff because you feel maybe you are better at doing it. Now that you have this mindset, you will say, you know what, let me give it to my subordinates as a challenge and let me see how far they will go, how far they will stretch. I'm there to support them, give them feedback, but let me give them the support. And so really, this is for me something that us as HR can use a lot to empower our people. Christa, I think this is my last slide, isn't it? Yes.
Yes, great.
All right. Thank
So I
you.
think from just looking at this, the question for you is, what mindset do you want to have? I've acknowledged myself now in just looking at that. I know that there are instances where I've got a fixed mindset. Especially at home, when my husband asks me something, my immediate reaction is to be defensive. But now I've realized today, lean in, listen, learn with new ears. I might learn something out of this situation. And sometimes we do exactly the same in our working spaces. So which mindset do you want to have? The next practical tool for you to understand mindset is to really know where your mindset is coming from. And we believe that in all of the processes that I'm facilitating in part of the organizational health processes, in people development, those of you who have been in this process will be exposed to this model. We are rolling it out in the Leading Our Transformation workshops, because you need to understand where your mindsets are coming from and what causes you to have certain patterns in your own mind. You see, what happens in all of our lives, an event takes place. And when an event takes place, an emotion is triggered. So an event takes place, an emotion is triggered, and out of that, a thought is generated. Now make it very practical. That then becomes my default action and behavior. They say when certain events happen to you 3 to 4 times in your life, you encounter the same with this type of people. Your mindset become like, where's stereotyping coming from? All men are, all blacks are, all women are. What happens is there was an event, it triggered an emotion, it started a thinking pattern, and that thinking pattern started developing a default action for you. And all of us has got that. You need to know what is the events in your life that triggered specific emotions. Maybe I didn't feel good enough, and then I withdraw, and that becomes the pattern of my life. What we want to do is we want to be actively knowing that when an event takes place, an emotion is triggered. And I'm going to tell you a story of myself and Nthabiseng preparing for this session. We were busy preparing for this session, and somebody walked into the room where the two of us are talking, and it was a white male walking into this room. I know him very well. I know he's a very focused individual. First of all, he felt stupid that he had to interrupt our meeting to fix something. So because I know him and I know his, the frame of mind that he's in, it didn't bother me at all. But he came in and he didn't greet Nthabiseng. And I said, "Hi, this is Nthabiseng." And he just focused on his words, on the work, on what he was busy with. Nthabiseng then came in and said, "Hello, my name is Nthabiseng." And again, he ignored her. And I could immediately feel there's tension here. So my default is I need to protect this guy. I need to fight for him. And I immediately, when he walked out of the room, I said, "I'm so sorry, just remember this is how this guy is thinking." But imagine 2 or 3 of that events is happening. When Nthabiseng encounters, there's an event taking place. I'm there like, "Hello, I'm also in the room." Just acknowledge, "Good morning, I'm sorry that I'm interrupting," but we acknowledge me. So what happened to her? She felt invisible. She felt rejected. And that could have caused, if it happened to her 2 or 3 times in her life, it can become a default action for her, saying, white males are rude. When they walk into an environment, they will just ignore you as if you do not exist. Is that the truth? But it becomes her truth. And if she entertains that thoughts, instead of to say, "Whoa, I'm going to stop. Yes, I feel invisible. That's correct. I do feel invisible right now. But I'm not going to go through the thinking process that will say, all men are." I'm not going to go there. I'm going to acknowledge my feeling and I'm going to stop. And once you stop, you go to your emotional area. Nthabiseng spoke to us, we are spirit, soul, and body. You literally go to the emotional area, the soul dimension of your life. And in the emotion, you ask yourself, what do I feel here? What do you feel? What did you feel? I felt angry.
I felt angry. I felt ignored.
I felt angry. I felt ignored. So you give a name to that feeling. I now feel angry and ignored. Then you go to your mind, because the mind, where the mind goes, the man follows. We go to our minds and we actually ask ourselves some critical questions. The critical question here is what I'm feeling true? For me it's true. I'm feeling angry and ignored. But is there maybe other information in terms of a growth mindset that I can lean into and maybe gather new information regarding this, that I don't feel the way that I feel? And when you enter into your mind space, you actually take a willful decision to choose to confront my feeling, to say, although this individual ignored me, made me angry, and made me feel like invisible, I choose to not let that become part of my thinking pattern. The next time I see him, I will be the mature one to again go out and say, hello, how are you? And you will see, you have encountered after that, how this individual actually greets you. Because what just happened in that space, his mind were not there. And sometimes we get so offended with people in our environments, and then we start making stereotyping decisions and create mindsets that all people are like this. And then all that I need is that if an individual treated me that way, myself and Almin are very good friends. So then I go to her because I'm now upset, and I say, Almin, this guy was really a heel today. Yes. And she said, did he do the same with you? He did exactly the same with me. And what happened? The two of us were not bumper buddies to each other, because all we did is we engaged in exactly the same mindset, instead of asking critical questions for each other. And this is really something you can, if there's one picture that you need to put up in front of, maybe make it a screensaver, to say, I want to stop doing certain things.
So, Christa, just a thought here is that what actually happened with me is I actually had to pause the button and test. Although I had said hello, I said to myself that maybe let me give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he didn't hear. Mm-hmm. So I greeted him again the third time. So I said hello, and then he said hello. Then it was okay. I didn't have to walk around with that feeling of ignored, etc. Because I'm like, okay, he heard me. Mm. So sometimes the testing is important as well.
So the stop, take a deep breath. What is happening here? It takes you as quickly to go there as it takes you to take offense. It's exactly the same. Whoa. I need to withdraw. I need to ask myself these critical questions. And when you stop, you actually choose to change your thought. No, I'm not going to look for these thoughts. I'm going to choose to change my thought. And when I do that, new feelings is starting to generate. And when that is happening, there's a different action, a different reaction, and a different behavior. And that's literally how we can change the patterns of mindsets that are being formed in our environments. For me personally, the keys to reprogram your mind, I've realized that there are certain things that I need to stop doing if I want to have a transformed mind. And to stop doing, I think I need to stop comparing. Comparison is a killer of joy. The moment I compare myself with another individual, I'm not in a good space, because I'm not that individual. What are we comparing ourselves towards? I need to stop competing. We are all in this together. I'm not in competition with anybody. I need to stop harboring insecurities, because insecurities are something that's coming from my own heart. I need to stop criticizing others. If I can't say something good about you, I'll say nothing. But I'm not going to be a person that criticizes. I need to work from a place of a transformed mindset. The other thing is, I will stop being jealous. Jealousy is a root of all evil. I will stop being jealous of somebody who drives a Ferrari and I drive a Ford Bucky. I will stop stirring strife. Actually, where strife, jealousy, and envy enters, all evil follows. Stop. Feeding selfishness or selfish ambition and greed, and fearing rejection and failure. And that is, like, for me personally, a red light in my life. When I see it, I know I need to stop. And I need to go through that process where I'm intentional on changing my mindset. What do I want to start doing? And if all of us can say there's a green light on this, start being vulnerable. Start saying, I've learned so much from Nthabiseng. Leaning into the discussion. Tell me more. How do you think about this? When we are vulnerable, I don't have to have all the knowledge. Vulnerability brings us into a place of having that mindset that we can learn. Humility is such a key skill for us. It's not a skill, it's a characteristic. And I know for us in Afgri, and something that Tinus literally says, for him as a leader, humility is the most sought after characteristic that he's looking for in people. Humility is attractive. Pride is not a good place to be. The other one, I want to start being courageous. It really takes courage to be vulnerable, to say I don't know, to learn, to lean in, but you have to be courage. It's those who dare that will really take this business forward. And kindness is just a word as it is. I love the movie Bruce Almighty. It's like this guy think he can be God. Who of you have seen the movie? And at the end he said, but how are we going to change the world? He says, by one random act of kindness every day. And I think everybody is going through such difficult times. Kindness is the smallest act we can do to one another. The last one is to really be fearless. If you are driven by fear and you don't want to confront the status quo, fear will hold us back, and we cannot have an environment that is driven by fear. In the last session, remind me, who was our speaker? John. John specifically spoke about fear and how all of us as leaders actually submit to fear in our environments. And fear is just the opposite to faith. And it's something we all need to confront in our own lives. And the other one to start doing is really be open. Be open to learn from any person. Be open. Be an open individual. Invite people into your space so that we can actually get in relationship with each other. So that is our keys in terms of how to reprogram your mind. And I trust that this will really help you. The last thing, and we really want to end off with this and give you some time for discussion, is I believe that we can truly change our environments by reacting in the opposite spirit. So if you function from a place of who I am, this is who I am. I am a person that are at peace. Therefore, I can bring peace to my environment. Instead of walking into your environment and let your environment decide how you're going to feel today. Somebody once said, if I give you a piece of my mind, I am actually giving you the piece of my mind. How do we intentionally change our environments? It's by reacting in an opposite spirit, and you need a lot of maturity to be able to do this. You get a choice every day to either flip the coin, heads or tails. You choose your reaction on things, but I believe that where there's hate, we can choose to bring love. We can choose to have affection for people. Where there's confusion and misunderstanding, choose to bring clarity. In our organization, for the past 3 years, this has been the stuff we've been saying, if you don't know, ask. I listen regularly to what Chris is saying, and wherever he's speaking, I want to listen. Where are we going to? And if I don't know, I go and ask. Please tell me. So may we be people that really bring clarity wherever we go. And if you don't know, don't say, communications suck in this business. Please go and ask for the clarity that you need to be able to do your work. Where there's division, let's bring unity. I trust that we model it today, that there can be absolute unity between how two people can speak. And I'm full-time working for AfGreen. Nthabiseng is working for Full Africa, but there's unity between what we are doing. And once we seek for that, we can really change things around us. Where there's anger, bring calmness into the environment. Where there's greed, be generous. Where there's guilt, make sure that you forgive. Where there's jealousy, choose to trust. Again, choose to trust, and for those of you who've attended some of the processes that I facilitate, it's like trust is a choice. It's I choose to fill the gap, not with being suspicious, but I choose to fill the gap with trust. And then I will go and make an appointment and say, can we please just circle back on what happened here? Because I tend to become suspicious, but I choose to trust. Let's sort this out. The last one is where there's pride, let's bring in absolute humility. And I believe if we do this out of who we are, we can be agents of change in environments that literally needs leaders that are level-headed, that's got a mindset that are set on where we are going to with this organization. And for you, just practically, is make appointments for yourself with people that you want to learn from. Again, I refer to Johan. I don't know him. I've seen him and I've been in meetings. And December, I made an appointment with Johan and I said, Johan, tell me who you are and how you are thinking about the e-accounts and what's new in your mind. And it was an hour of such a blessing. And I said, how do you make sure that those who do not want to work with you or do not want to change, how do you get around that? And Johan's mindset regarding that was like, wow, then go and work with those who wants to change. And I learned so much from you. And let's all do that. Don't let position or, don't know if I can. I've made appointments with Mpumi without an agenda in it. Like, I just want to check in with you. How are you doing? What's new? And all of us can do that regardless of your position. Surround yourself with great-minded people and you will become a great-minded person. So please choose your mindset for 2019. I do believe that we are at a pivotal point in our business. It's almost 2 years since the project Shuffle has been announced. We're almost with 2 years through massive changes that this organization went through. But we're going forward. There's no turning back. We're going forward. And there's changes that is happening, but let's embrace the changes and be part of that. And remember that we all got an opportunity to link our purpose to the purpose of this organization. And if I can just remind you, the one thing that binds us together is we are part of a group of companies. AGH is our group company, and we are all forming part of AGH. And how I link my why, my purpose, is to the words that Chris said. He says we exist as a business to invest in the lives of people. And as we are investing in the lives of people, if people continue doing the right things, we will be profitable. And when he said that, I've realized we are not profit-driven. We are actually led from a place that the more we invest in the lives of people and they do the right things, the more we will be profitable. And we've got an amazing vision, an amazing dream. And may all of you just find your place in this organization, and please bring your heart into what you are doing. Sure. Thank you. So based on that, our next speaker we've invited is Dr. Kobus Pinaar. He is the representative of the Arbinger Group in South Africa. And what Arbinger is really doing is to say, how do we turn outward? Not inward focus on me, but how can I turn my world outside and to really have an outward mindset? And Dr. Kobus Pinaar is our next speaker in February. He's going to take us through that. Amazing stuff. You really can't miss that. Bring your friends. Yeah, bring your friends. Any other contributions on this morning? Was it worth the while? I really trust that you will take these things and that you will integrate it. What we do have is on your chair, there's a brochure of Leading Out Transformation. This is really for leaders who wants to become transformational in their thinking, in how we do certain things. We are facilitating these processes with specific leaders in the AFCRI side and AGH, all the other businesses. I'm going to, with Rivasha, have a group of people going through this. Nthabiseng is the contact person in Full Africa, but we're seeing how we can create more environments where we can just learn from each other and journey together from a relational point of view. So there's some more information on there. And then what we've done is AFCRI actually sponsored us with each one a CD of software download that you can have in your mind while you're in the car. And it's really some brilliant teachers on here that you can go and listen to their stories and just be encouraged as a leader on let these people rather shape the way we think. The Global Leadership Summit is really once a year, and over 400,000 of people are going through this summit every year. It's really amazing stuff to listen to. The last thing that I want to ask before you leave is I've also put a piece of paper on your desk. What I'm asking on that paper is that you can just give me your personal, wat's besonderhede? Now my English is finished. Your personal information, and my question on there, can I add you to the broadcast list? There are just a few questions, and if you want to give us any feedback on that, I really appreciate it. Mpumi, do you want the last word? Are you sure? Come on. Thank you all for being here. Let's choose our mindsets and have an amazing 2019. See you in February. God bless. Nthabiseng, thank you. It was wonderful speaking with you.
It's a pleasure.